What's up, guys? For yourself, episode 142 or 3 or whatever. My man, Robert Lawless, ROBS10K Friends on Instagram. His project is so cool. He's been trying to meet 10,000 people and do 10,000, have 10,000 conversations. And he started this probably 6 or 7 years ago. And we met about 5 years ago. And I actually went and did the interview with him and got to meet him. And he's been absolutely crushing this goal of 10,000 people. And now he even gives speeches at universities and businesses on how to better communicate confidently with people you don't know, and in turn build better relationships. And he's at, I think on the podcast, he says he's 40 people away from 5,000. He's almost halfway done the project. And like his story is so cool because it's a beautiful, it's just like the perfect example of like start on your goal and so many other things can happen. It's like I always talk about this quote is as you start to walk the path, the way appears. It's like this beautiful, I forget if it's like Confucius or like it's just a Chinese proverb or something like that, but he's the perfect example of it because he started this project, 6-7 years ago, just because he wanted to meet people and he wanted to see what would happen from meeting 10,000 people. And like, since then, like he's been approached about possibly doing a TV show. He's been approached about a book deal. He's been approached about, and now he freaking makes, I don't know how much exact money, but the dude's giving freaking speeches at orientations at college and in front of businesses about how to build better relationships with people and communicate. And it's, if you do what you love, I promise you'll find a way to make money doing what you love so that you can continue to do what you love. It's going to take, some people, there's outliers where it happens right away, right? But like sometimes it takes 10 to 20 years for you to find that and to make it happen. I'm not just talking to you guys, I'm talking to me. So no matter what, just keep chasing your dreams. I promise. If you don't quit, things will happen for you. Love you guys. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Free Yourself podcast. For those of you that don't know, my name is Ryan Janni, and I am naked. And today I've got another incredible, very special guest, my man, Rob Lawless, ROBS10K Friends. I am so grateful to have you on the podcast. Welcome, brother.
Thank you, man. Good to reconnect. I think I was actually looking it up before. December 2017 is when we met. I think you were 1468 in my project.
That right there just goes to show like how dedicated you've been to this project. And what are you at right now?
I just met, hold on, let's see, number 4,961. So I'm 40 people away from 5,000.
That's amazing, man. And also you've been now starting to give speeches on teaching people on how to better communicate with people, right?
Yeah, which is great because now I finally have a way to support myself financially. Yeah, like I started the project November of 2015, and then I took it full time 8 months later because the company I worked for was bought out, and I was laid off. And like even when I met you, I was in this journey of thinking, okay, I'll get partnerships and whatnot to support the project as the social media audience grows. And then last year I transitioned into speaking, and it's become such a like more authentic way to make money and push the project forward, and also to have an impact on people. So yeah, we're go like deep into speaking now, or trying to get there.
That's amazing, man. And right there is like how many, it's like the story that you love to hear, man. Like you're just like, well, this company folded and whatnot, and now I've got to make my own way, and I'm gonna do it by doing something that I love, and you've made it work. Like this whole time, you're talking about that was 2017 when we had the conversation, and you're talking about 8 months ago getting a instead of the partnerships, finding a new way that like you said feels more authentic to really and get what you're worth paid, right? Like that's always that's an internal battle that we fight, right? Like
Yeah.
what am I worth to these people, and then to be able to do it is, and to see it come through, like that's so inspiring, man. So kudos to you. That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a lot of just walking and staying true to the path, and discovering the answers along the way. Like I met a girl who's a public speaker in 2019 through my project, and she really turned me on to it. She was charging $17,000 per speech at the time. Now she's 20 to 30 grand per speech. And I was like, okay, there's an opportunity here to make money to support this. And she was like, you've had press coverage, you've had a cool story, there's certainly space for you in this field. So yeah, it was a little bit after that I actually stepped into it, but it's like now I have a repeatable product that I can sell and just support the project, because for the longest time I didn't have that. So yeah, it's a good place to be in.
That's awesome, man. And you're in the beautiful city of Philadelphia where we met and how we connected. I'm so happy. I was just talking to one of my clients about this. I was like, I'm about to do this podcast and reconnect with this guy that like gave me an opportunity to like come on and be shown to his audience. And like now I get to return the favor. Like it felt really good to be able to do this. And you are someone who indirectly have inspired me, because like I'm not gonna lie, in February, like I've not always, but I've been doing music, I'm doing the podcast, I've had all these projects that I really love doing, and I'm someone who's gotten jobs to support it, that in areas that I was like, I'm getting this job purposely so that it's not something that's like a career stepping up, like because this is what I want to do for the career, and then it for the fourth time, this time the company folded, and it wasn't my fault. There was nothing I could do to like stop it, and I was like, I just got to do it. I'm sick of relying on these other ways, and like over the past 15 years of my life, building up this knowledge and a degree in health and coaching, and like now I have coaching clients, and like now I have this awesome thing that I love, that I can bring good to the world, and I can continue doing the other things that I love, which is music and podcasting, and I'll never stop working out. That's just how I stay healthy, and now I get the best of both worlds, and like it's like you showed the way, like and it's awesome to be able to now reconnect and see both of us have changed and evolved so much with whatever's been thrown your way. But I want to talk about how this project started. Like I want to know about the idea of Rob's 10K Friends and these interviews and stuff, because you started this before at least I was into podcasts and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So like your interview series, like it kind of like it parallels with the growth of podcasting and stuff, and it's very similar arts, and so how did this come to you, and how did it develop and change over time?
Yeah, I went to Penn State, so I'm from Norristown, like the suburbs of Philly, and then I went to Penn State and studied finance, but minored in accounting and entrepreneurship, and I was just really involved in clubs and activities. So I was part of like the Penn State Dance Marathon. I was in a fraternity. I was a tour guide for prospective students, did Habitat for Humanity, homecoming. So I had multiple groups of really good friends at school.
Yeah.
And I was just such a social place in Penn State. Like you have the opportunity to be really social there. Like I was out every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. and then in the library Saturday, Sunday, studying for tests and stuff. But that to me, like I was really happy there. And if I was able to maintain that kind of lifestyle for forever, I would have done that. But then you graduate, your friends graduate, you have to move on with life. So I started doing consulting for Deloitte after school, and pretty quickly was like, wow, this is not fulfilling to me. Like it was great job, great on paper. I had great benefits. They were going to pay for me to get my MBA and stuff. But I think having that desire for entrepreneurship, I was like, this isn't it. And I've always been attracted to adventurous things. I don't know if you remember The Buried Life. Was a show on MTV where it was these guys, they would go around in a tour bus and they'd try to check items off their bucket list.
Okay.
For every item they checked off their list, they would help a stranger check an item off theirs. So it was like this very spontaneous, adventurous show that had also this good feel to it. And now there's like a modern day version of them called Yes Theory. It's a YouTube channel. And those guys have built like a global, very, very loyal audience. But I've always been attracted to adventurous things like that. And sitting in a cubicle was not giving me that. So I wanted to get back to that place of knowing the people around me, kind of what I had at Penn State. And it just wasn't as easy to do that in the real world because everyone's like, why are we meeting? What's the point? What's the return on the investment of our time?
Yeah.
Everyone has to have an agenda. And I wanted to get around that. So I was like, I'm going to meet 10,000 people and I'm just going to do it to see what comes of opening doors for no reason. And like you and I didn't meet so that 5 years later we could do a podcast together, right? We just met. And then naturally it leads to something else. So I wanted to do that with like all these different people and see where it would take me. And as I've gone through, I think the biggest driver is that I've always believed every human interaction has the potential to change your life. I think that's why I was so motivated to get up and still am every day to meet people.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah. So it just, I've always believed in that. And when I was at Deloitte, I went to a tech startup and on 13th and Chestnut, moved into Northern Liberties for that job. And I was like, Philly is my new Penn State campus. I'm going to start to meet people. And I'm going to do like the first 1,000-ish in Philly. And the next 9 will be a mix of Philly in the world. And it's kind of held true to that since then.
That's freaking awesome, man. And so in this time, where else have you lived?
I was in Philly. I started the project November 2015. 8 months later is when I was laid off. So I still had 11 more months on my lease in Philly. So I was doing it full time during those 11 months. When that lease was up, I had a friend from Penn State who was living in Los Angeles. And he was like, if you want to come live out here with me, I'll just host you. You can stay as long as you need to. So I stayed with him the summer of 2017. Then I moved back in with my parents for like 5 months. Then I went back to LA for 9 months in 2018. Went back to my parents for 4 months, went back to LA for 3 months in 2019, back to my parents for 2 months. And then I went to Hoboken, New Jersey for 9 months. And that takes us up to the pandemic. Then June of 2020, went back home to my parents and I lived there until January. I just moved back into the city in January. And during COVID, so I've driven across the country 6 different times. So I've met people in like 20 different cities in the US. I had people fly me to Seattle, people fly me to Orlando, to Toronto. A flight attendant gave me his buddy pass. I was able to go to Hawaii for free. So I've had, like these crazy like travels kind of domestically with the project. I have yet to go abroad for it unless you count Canada. But when COVID happened, I've met people from like 85 different countries around the world. So I haven't been to a lot of different countries, but my network now includes a bunch of different countries.
Dude, this is so freaking cool, man. And the fact that I'm not just impressed at everything you've done. I'm impressed that you were able to be like 3 months here, 5 months here, then 8 months here, then 2 months, and you like remembered it all. Like that also was impressive. I
talk about myself every day to people, so I know my path.
You mapped it out. And all right. So with all the stuff like going across the country, so tell me what's like the coolest place that you've had one of these like meetups and interviews?
I met a dude in San Diego. So I was just coming off of the guy flying me up to Seattle. Super nice, like Colombian dude, introduced me to all of his friends, showed me Seattle. And then I went to San Diego because I was like, I just have not been there and I would like to go there. So I put out a story and asked if anyone had friends that I could crash with. A guy that I had done a podcast with had friends there. They were willing to host me. So I met them, but when I was down there, I met a guy that my cousin had worked with previously, and he built his, or he responded to the email and said, "Do you want to go up in a modern or historical aircraft?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds sweet." So I met him, yeah, at the hangar, and we rolled up to his plane, and turns out he had built the plane himself that we were flying in, and he told me that as we were rolling up to it. So it was kind of intimidating, a little bit scary, but
yeah, like how good at you were building this plane, dude. Like
yeah, this is not like Legos where like it's if it breaks, it's okay. But so we took our hour was us flying over the coast of San Diego, and it was like a little 4-seater plane. So imagine just being basically in a really small car with wings, feeling like every gust of wind and every G-force that you make with the turns with. So that was one of the coolest places. And then Hawaii was sweet too, just being out there. I was in Maui, and I went and I stayed in a hostel because I had no agenda being out there. I just thought, I'm going to go and I'm going to meet people. I had messaged a bunch of Maui based Instagram accounts. I ended up meeting people at the hostel, and they became the people I met for my project on that trip. But we went, there's in Maui, there's the road to Hana. It's this road that goes around the perimeter of the eastern part of the island. And there's all these cool stops. Like we hit this black sand beach, this red sand beach. We hiked through this bamboo forest to this 400-foot waterfall. As we came around the other side of the island, the sun was setting into the ocean. So
what?
Yeah.
Dude, Hawaii is one of those places that like everyone in the world wants to go to Hawaii and wants to experience that. And like, but from people that have been there and I've talked to about it, like you're just not gonna get it until you go and experience it. And obviously there's a lot of places like that, but like Hawaii and what I've heard about over the pandemic and stuff, like Hawaii is they make so much money from people coming and visiting. It's the whole, the tourist thing that like, and it's not just like the hotels, it's like the people that make artifacts to sell to tourists. It's like all these little things. And it's still you have to like get tested to get into Hawaii. And then like they still I think this was a recent podcast I was listening to about someone who had just went there, and he was talking about how like they still made him wear a mask in the gym and stuff. Like it's I just hope, I'm very optimistic about where we're going through all of this, and especially because like someone like you has been able to travel and do these things during it, and like I've been able to travel and do things like this through it, and music and all this, and like it hasn't affected me as much as the next person. And like I obviously there's so many different layers to it and all of this, but like it's so cool that, and you stayed at a hostel, and that brought up a sort of like a memory of mine. Like the movie Hostel that like made it like terrifying to like stay in hostels. And then I was always like, oh, I'll never do it. And then I realized when I went to New Orleans, and me and my buddy got a flight that was like the day before the rest of my buddies for the bachelor party. And we stayed in a hostel that was like $40, maybe even less than that. Might've been like $20. And like, it was this awesome freaking place. And I'm like, that movie Hostel probably ruined so many like little trips that I could have done and stayed in some cheap spot, instead of being like, oh my God, I need to stay in this like resort, and like, it needs to be this much money, so I'll never be able to do it. Like those hostels make so many different trips like that, like so doable for someone who's like on a budget with the trips, right? Like it's so cool. And then you got to, you even said the people you met there, you like added to your project and everything. And like, so tell me more about the people that you met there, and I want to dive more into Hawaii and your experience there.
Yeah, I think it was called the Banana Bungalow or something like that. But it was just so my all in, I think I was in Hawaii for 3 full days, 4 nights. all in the trip cost me like $250
to go to Hawaii.
Yeah, because the flight was free and then the hostel was cheap. And I ended up, so the first night I was there, just was sitting at a table with people, and the hostel environment, like everyone's kind of a traveler, so you're open to having conversations with people.
Yeah.
And I met this guy and this girl who were really good friends, and they were like planning on taking some of the other people from the hostel to this, it's called Haleakala, I think I'm pronouncing it right, Canyon. It's like a natural park or national park there, but basically it's like a volcano type thing. And the people that we were taking were going to be hiking it for the next 4 days or whatever, but they just wanted a ride. So they were like, if you take us, we'll pay for like the parking pass for the thing and everything, and you guys can just like drive around and see whatever you want. So then another dude who was in my room who showed up later in the night was like, yeah, that sounds cool, I'll go with you. And yeah, we all went, and the guy, the girl, and the other guy just ended up, like, we dropped them off and we explored the park, and then we went to the beach, like went swimming in the ocean and stuff. I saw this like huge black mass kind of swim by me when I was in the water. Yeah, I was a little worried, but it was like a sea turtle, like a huge sea turtle.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So I was like, where am I right now? But so then the guy and the girl were leaving that day, and then same thing, like you're talking to people that night, and went to bed and woke up, and I was pretty tired the next day. But the dude from my room was like, yo, that one guy we were talking to last night has a rental car. He and I are planning on doing this road to Hana thing if you want to join us. And I was like, do I? Like, I'm pretty tired. I could just stay here and meet people. And I ended up going. That was probably one of my favorite travel days I've ever had in my life, because it had the spontaneity of the meeting new people, the adventure of all these cool places we were seeing, like the things I just tended to work out. Like, we literally were driving on the one side of the island, seeing that the sun was setting, and we were like, it'd be so cool if you could just pull off and sit with your car and watch the actual sunset. And we went down this road and came up over this hill, and there was this line of cars and people were sitting on their roofs watching the sunset, and we were like, all right, there it is. So yeah, it was cool. And then the last day, one of the accounts that I messaged told me, you should connect with this guy, George. He's a Grammy award-winning musician from Hawaii, does like the Hawaiian type music. And I think he had won like multiple Grammys, but she put me in touch with him, and he was like, I'm performing today at this 78-year-old Portuguese woman's birthday party. You should come. Like, it's going to be a fun party. A lot of people will be there. So he was like, it's a pool party. Bring your swimsuit, bring your towel, whatever, do your thing. And we got there, and it was a family party. It was a family party for this woman. And I was the only one there, like with a swimsuit and whatnot. The dude wasn't even there yet. He showed up an hour and a half after I did. But it was like just such a cool experience. And the family kind of took me in, and now I kind of keep in touch with them. I send her a postcard every year for her birthday. But yeah, Hawaii was a trip.
Dude, that's freaking awesome, man. And again, like, two things that come to mind when you're telling this story, like another example of like incredible things that can happen when you just like follow your heart and do the thing that you love doing. Yeah. And then also the like all those things that you said that you loved about the trip, like meeting new people, staying in the hostel, spontaneous trip, and then getting to see this and like incredible scenery and swim next to a freaking sea turtle and all, like these are all things that would terrify a lot of people, like that they get anxiety of meeting new people and staying in the hostel and no, everything needs to be planned out and like spontaneous. It's like so many people that like I listen to, look up to, that I've drawn inspiration from. Like it all comes back to this thing of like leaning into being uncomfortable. Like those are the things that you need to do. And then to take a step further, just like getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is like a whole nother thing that'll help you, expand your reach and the things you can do. And like, you're just the perfect example of this. Like, it's so freaking cool, man. And so another little pivot. I want to touch now on the speeches that you're giving and sort of, since we're talking about like getting comfortable being uncomfortable, and your whole thing is you helping people to better communicate with people and stuff like that. Tell me kind of what your speeches, entail, and how you've developed this whole process of doing it.
Yeah, so I speak at like colleges, universities, and then corporations, conferences, and for universities, I've done like recruitment events and leadership events and whatnot. A lot of the feedback that I keep getting is like, this would be perfect for orientation. So I'm starting to set up orientation gigs now, but and then corporations, it's like a lot of like inclusion events or belonging events under like the DEI scope. And I'm starting to see like an interest in like new hires, kind of like allowing them to connect with each other too. But for both of them, essentially, I share my story of going from consulting to this project and how it influenced my perception and perspective of the world. And there's 7.9 billion perspectives out there. So even if you're someone who, like me, is open to a lot of different people, at the end of the day, your perception's still really limited. Like, it's very, very small. The way you experience the world is a very, very small percentage of the overall experiences that exist in the world. So I just like talk to people about that and how we can kind of intentionally get a better understanding of the world if we become more proactive about meeting people. And I think when you do that, like for me, I always say it's important to have a goal, whether it's I want to meet one new person a month, or I want to try to chat up a new stranger for 5 minutes a week, something like that. It doesn't have to be super formal. But for me, having this goal to meet 10,000 people has given me a good excuse to sit down with people. And I think that that's really important. And then it's allowed me to unlock the value, which for me, I think is an increased sense of belonging. Like if we ran into each other in Philly, we'd know each other because we took that time to meet. I have that in LA. I have that in New York. If I were to go to Egypt tomorrow, I'd have people that I knew I could stay with or see. So that increased sense of belonging, that shift in perspective when you learn about people's lives who are different than yours, and the opening of doors for opportunities in the future. For me, like being able to fly in that plane was really cool. And then I think to talk to people, there's a framework you can use that is called FORD. So it stands for Family, Occupation, Recreation, Dreams. If you want to get to know anyone in the world, and I feel like I can confidently say that because I've done it, you can think about their life like a timeline, like beginning to now to future. And you can build out their story just by asking questions about their family, about their occupation, like education path, about their hobbies, and about their dreams for the future. So I do that with people, and then I pair them off, and then they connect with each other. So, and I'm a very laid back person. So it's not like a, hey, this is a business training. It's like a, hey, we're here to like connect and chat. And I think because of the way that I run it, people really feel okay opening up to each other. And yeah, then I just talk about reflection, because I've seen in the pandemic, people took my concept and did it in their own way. Like people in Toronto started meeting people virtually, like two cousins met over 100 people. There's a guy in India right now who's trying to meet 1,000 people because of my project. There's a girl in Boston who's meeting people because of my project. So yeah, I'm like, in a corporate world, like you look at that, if you want to have a more inclusive environment for your workplace, it starts with you being someone who respects the stories of the people around you, and other people take note. In college, if you want to have a great experience, like use this framework to get to know people. And you don't have to, it's okay to be anxious because it's a natural thing, but you at least have a tool belt that you can be like, I just pull from these categories. I ask questions, the conversation will move forward.
Dude, it's so true. Like everybody has those answers, right? And you're so right. Your demeanor, your energy makes it very easy for people to talk to and open up to you. So like I was myself, like this was before I started my podcast, and when we met and coming and meeting up with you, just the fact, one, that you were doing this project, like I remember being like, I want to find out more about you, and you just directed the conversation, and like I wound up talking, and like it was just like it was just so easy to talk to you. It's important, the different things the different things that you're talking about are not just things that everyone has in common and that they can answer. It's like really like things that will make people like dig deep into and really kind of show you who they are from these things, like family, like where how they started, and like their morals and values, and or the opposite, like I don't want to be like that because maybe they didn't have a good home experience, and then taking it, through their occupation, and then maybe what their dreams, maybe it's not their occupation, but they have something else that's really, driving them, and then you take it further, and now you've know so much about this person through just a few, conversations and talk, and then those are all things that you now, like when you meet up with them, it's like, are you still in the job and not doing this thing? Or how is your family? If they have kids, how's your kids? And it builds this freaking this it's like a deeper relate, because these are things that don't come up normally in, like, when you meet someone out at a show, or like, because I'm DJ, so when I meet someone out at a show, it's like it's more about like the music and the things that are happening there, but like those are the things that develop like long lasting conversations. And when you then meet up with that person and you see them in person, you already have this like framework of, all right, this is a safe place. Like, so if you're like you said, walking down the street and you're like, I don't know where I am, and like you're a little anxious, but then you see that person, it's like safe place. And it like brings that energy, the negative energy out, and you're automatically in with this person. It's like it's such a good point. And then of course, taking it, fast forward and bring it into my podcast world, it's like, I might not ask about someone's necessarily their family life, but like it's all about like their dreams and what they want to accomplish, and how they got to this place. And it's the same sort of thing where like now every time every person I've had on this podcast is like, I feel like I know them so much deeper, right? Like, and it's been such a big part of my life now, and like everywhere, especially in Philly, everywhere I go, there's like people that I feel comfortable with, and it was only through putting out my conversations on freaking line about like letting everybody in on the conversation. And now that you've got all these public speaking gigs, and you've got this project like close to the halfway point, like where do you see this project taking you by the time you get to 10K? Like, what are some of your goals that you want to see happen?
I would like to eventually start traveling physically for it, like to other countries. That was always a goal of mine. And yeah, I always wanted other people from other countries to be part of it, but I wanted to meet them where they were. And I couldn't do it previously because of finances, and then COVID happened, and in a way it was a blessing in disguise because now I have this global network. So I'd like to get to a lot of these places that I now know people and expand on those networks there. And then speaking, I think I want to continue to dive deeper in that, because I would love to speak even after I'm done the project. I think a book is probably in there somewhere. Like, I'm not.
Yes.
Sometimes people
hold on. For sure, you have to write a book about your experiences, man.
Yeah, so I think it'll be a smart thing to do. But sometimes people mistakenly think that I'm like doing the project to do something, like that this is a step towards something, but it's not. Like, the project is the project. So a book was never something I was planning to do. But again, like a lot of people, like it really makes sense for you to do that. So I think I will. A documentary is potential in there somewhere. There in February of 2020, I connected with Drew Scott from the Property Brothers, runs the HGTV show, and he DM'd me on Instagram and was like, hey, let's chat about potentially doing a show together. And he's still someone who is a contact, but like maybe if the project evolves towards that direction, we can do something together. So yeah, we'll see. I think it's crazy to think back on how much has happened in the first 5,000 people, and just how much potential the second 5,000 holds. Because sometimes, like, if you're meeting people on a daily basis, it's the meeting people that I enjoy. But then if you think about it overall, like, there's so much growth, and like it's evolved, like from this thing that I once thought was just going to be me doing something that with people that made them interesting, to having these really in-depth conversations, to doing it virtually and record, like all these different things. So yeah, and then ultimately I think it'd be cool to have a first year class at a university and teach students how to connect with each other. I want them to pair off every class period one-on-one and learn from each other's backgrounds rather than a textbook or a PowerPoint. Because I just think there's so much value in understanding the people's stories around you. You can't get that from a textbook. Like that textbook is not going to be the thing that introduces you to your future boss or your future wife. It's the people that you meet that are going to do that. So I want to facilitate that for students in college.
Hell yeah, man. It's so well said, man. Because definitely no textbook is gonna do this for you. And you're the perfect person to be able to teach a class one, because you're doing the public speaking part of it, but like to have all these experiences and then to be able to like show these kids like, or young adults at college, that it happens through the connection, and then to be able to, you know, whether it be 30 to 100 people, these, you know, college courses, it can be much bigger than 30. They can literally in class every day meet a new person and have that. It's like the stepping stone to it. And that'll just build like the best class environment in like, because college, like I'm correct me if I'm wrong, like when I got into like the deeper into my major courses, when like now I've seen, you know, these students for the last 3 years, and then I'm in the 4th year, and it's like you're so much more, it's such a smaller class and you're so much closer because you've been with these guys for so much longer. And like, but that you then translate that to being able to have that experience in a freshman class. Like that holds, that sets you up, because now you know what in your workplace, in whatever field that you have your, you know, your hopes and your dreams in, like that's the thing that can help you to build that so much, like so much faster. It's like it's awesome, man. I've been a big fan of your project for a long time, man, and it's been so good to be able to reconnect with you. And you know, I'm so pumped to see how far this goes. The TV show thing is like another way for you to be able to travel and like do it that way, and like it can go to like crazy destinations and stuff, and like, and now you've already done, you know, a good amount of traveling in the US, and like I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, a conversation at like the top of the Eiffel Tower, or like or the at Headstone, like stuff like that. Like there's so many different possibilities. So, but that's awesome, man. And listen, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm really happy to reconnect with you and do this. And the biggest well wishes I can give you for this project. I'm so excited to see how far it goes, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. And I think anyone who does a podcast gets a similar experience that I get out of this project, where you have the ability to meet so many different people and hear their perspectives and stuff. So I'm sure it's been awesome for you, and I'm excited to see where you go with the podcast. And I think I was rereading the story of when we met, and I think you were recovering from an MCL tear. ACL tear. Yeah. And now all I see is videos of you like deadlifting like a bunch of weight and stuff. And stuff. You've clearly recovered, and it's good to see you doing that and doing your podcast. So I appreciate you, like you said, giving me a platform now to share my story. So yeah, we'll see 5,000 people from now where you're at, where I'm at.
Yeah, right. So 2007, and look at that. So that's 5 years, right? Where so 5 years from now is like 10 years from the possibilities are endless, and I have great feelings about both of our paths, man. It's a beautiful thing. So I love you, brother. Thank you so much for doing this, and to everybody that tuned in and watched, thank you so much for your love and support. It really means the world to me. I can't stress that enough, because I love doing this, and I want to be able to keep doing it. So till next time, everybody, peace, love, unity, and respect. We're out.